Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Thank you for joining us today. Today is Gopashtami too, so it's amazing. And then today we'll be doing Srimadbhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 20, Lord Vishnu's appearance in the sacrificial arena of Maharaj Prithu. Please join us for Jai Radha Madhav prayers. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Gopi Jana Vallabha Girvardhari, Gopi Jana Vallabha Girvardhari, Yashodanandana Brajana Ranjana, Yashodanandana Brajana Ranjana, Yamuna Tira Vanachari, Yamuna Tira Vanachari, Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Gopi Jana Vallabha Girvardhari, Gopi Jana Vallabha Girvardhari, Yashodanandana Brajana Ranjana, Yashodanandana Brajana Ranjana, Yamuna Tira Vanachari, Yamuna Tira Vanachari, Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. आप सबका स्वागत है, आप सबका अभिनंदन है। Hare Krishna. Let's welcome.
हरे कृष्णा, हरे बोल डियर व्यूअर्स, आप सभी का बहुत बहुत स्वागत है। आज प्रभु जी दे रहे हैं चैप्टर लेवल ब्यूटीफुल लेसन्स ऑन चैप्टर 20 कैंटो 4 ऑफ श्रीमद् भागवतम। प्रभु जी, we would like to welcome the devotees, विधान मंडल, लक्ष्मी शर्मा जी, बडाव्रत भरली, जीतन, गोहिल, सौमिक, यश, नेहा शर्मा, सुमन साहू, पंकज साहा, बलीराम कुमार। हरे कृष्णा।
Hare Krishna.
प्रभु जी, at this time we are not able to announce सभी का नाम, so devotees and viewers, आप सभी का खास स्वागत है। प्रभु जी, would you offer prayers now?
Yes. Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please join us for Mangalacharan prayers. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiriet Shavatam Swakatha Krishna Punya Shavana Kirtanaha Hridayantasto Bhadrani Vidunoti Suhasatam Nashta Prayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatir Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nashtaki. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. So today we'll be covering lessons from chapter 20 of Canto 4. Canto 4, chapter 20, the title is Lord Vishnu's Appearance in the Sacrificial Arena of Maharaj Prithu. Please join us in the recitation of the first verse. Devi, have we shared the first verse link?
Yes, Prabhuji, go ahead.
Hare Krishna. Srimadbhagavatam, Canto 4, chapter 20, verse 1. Maitreya Uvacha Bhagavan api Vaikuntha Sakam Bhagavata Vibhu Yagya Yagya Patistushto Yagya Bhuktam Bhashata. Translation by His Divine Grace S.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. The great sage Maitreya continued, My dear Vidur, being very much satisfied by the performance of 99 horse sacrifices, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu, appeared on the scene. Accompanying him was King Indra. Lord Vishnu then began to speak. Hare Krishna. Please join us for Guru Pranati. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yat Kripa Tadham Vande Shri Gurum Dinataranam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. So today happens to be Gopashtami as well that we are celebrating, and the theme of this particular chapter and Gopashtami is very much coinciding. So let's quickly revisit the story of Gopashtami. So, Nand Baba, along with the cowherd man, they decided that Bhagwan Krishna, he should be allowed to take cows for cowherding. So previously he was taking calves, right? And the Gopa boys, along with him, all his friends. But on this occasion, this transition was there. So as there was a big ritualistic ceremony was being arranged for at that time, Lord Krishna, while waiting, so that he can take the cows out, after this ceremony, he was missing Radharani. And seeing him in Vipralamba, in that mood of separation, Vipralamba Bhav, his Sakha, Subal, right? Also known as Subal Sakha. So his friend, Lord Krishna's friend, Gopa boy, Subal, he immediately understood what Lord Krishna is feeling. He's feeling separation from Radharani. And yet he confirmed, as Acharyas revealed, and at that time Lord Krishna confirmed that yes, I am feeling this separation. And because of this, I'm not feeling so enthusiastic for this ritual. So Subal, he made an arrangement. He took a small calf in his hands and he went to Radharani's in-laws. That's where Radharani is staying. And he let the calf enter the courtyard of Radharani's place, her in-laws' place, and the calf just ran into Goshala. And at that time, Radharani's mother-in-law and sister-in-law, we know, Jatila and Kutila, they have a very important part to play even in Gokul Vrindavan and this pastime. So her, mother-in-law, Jatila, she says, what is it? Why lurking around this courtyard? So Subala said, actually my calf, my bachara, actually went in. So I'm trying to find it. She said, okay, quickly get it and, leave. Because she was thinking this Gopa boys, they're always making some arrangements to have Lord Krishna meet with Radharani. So she just wanted to make sure that, he collects his calf and leaves the place. And it just so happens, so this is again amazing how Yogamaya arranges everything so nicely for the pleasure of the Lordship, that Radharani happens to be in that cowshed, as Subal approached, and he told her how Lord Krishna is feeling, how he is feeling the separation. Seeing this, Radharani also became morose. So at that time, Subal Sakha, he revealed to her that actually there is an arrangement, because his complexion is also Tapta Kanchana, he's also golden complexion, and his build is very thin, just like Radharani. So they decided to change their dress so that she can wear the Gopa dress and go and meet Lord Shri Krishna. And this is where, he wears her Gopi dress and he is staying on her behalf at the in-laws' place, while Radharani, she picks up the calf and, holding it in front, she is running out. At that time, the mother-in-law of Radharani, Jatila, she says, have you found your calf? So, if she says, yes, I have found it, then she will immediately be detected that, yes, this is a girl's voice, not a boy's voice. So she quickly hums it, like saying that, and then she just rushes out. And this way, she is able to go and participate in this ceremony as well as go along with Lord Krishna to, cow herding. So not just all night, on this occasion, she is also spending the whole day with Lord Shri Krishna. So it's a very special day. And it's special because Subala, he sacrificed his staying with Lord Krishna to please Radharani. He is facilitating a great personality. And Radharani is the presiding deity of this month, the month of Kartik, Damodar Mas also as we know it. And here, if we please Radharani, then everything is, auspicious, everything is successful. So Subala, by his example, shows that he was ready to separate, he was ready to take a step back, not seek the company of Lord Shri Krishna, but rather to seek the, pleasure of Lord Shri Krishna, the satisfaction of Lord Shri Krishna. And Lord Krishna is, Yagya Purusha. Bhoktaram yagatapsam sarvalok maheshwaram suhridam sarvabhutanam gyatva mam shantim richati. Lord Krishna reveals to Arjuna the peace formula in Bhagavad Gita, where he says, Bhoktaram yagatapsam. Lord Krishna is saying that I am the Yagya Purusha, I am the beneficiary of all sacrifices. And as we see in this particular chapter today, Prithu Maharaj, when his 100th for sacrifice has been interrupted by Indra, Lord himself comes, and he is, after 99 yajnas have been successfully performed, Lord is coming himself, and he is, the beneficiary, and he is the verse used in the first verse where Maitreya is revealing that he is fully satisfied. Tushta. Tushta means satisfaction. Tushti means satisfaction. So he is satisfied just by the 99 yajnas and having followed the instructions given by Lord Brahma, that let 99 be all. And that is where Acharyas revealed that actually by not performing the 100th yajna, he becomes more glorious than Indra, because Indra is, he has performed 100 hot sacrifices, so that's why he is on the position of Indra. But here Prithu Maharaj, having performed 99 and then satisfying the Lord, Bhoktaram Yagasapsam Sarvalok Maheshwaram. He is the supreme proprietor of all the worlds, material universes as well as spiritual universes, all that can be, he is the supreme proprietor. And Surhidam Sarva Bhutanam, he is the best friend, he is the benefactor, he is the well-wisher of every living entity, not just of humans but of aquatics, birds, trees, plants, all kind of living entities, demigods, demons, all living entities. He is the best friend to every living entity. That's why he resides in the heart, expanded as Paramatma, as Super Soul. So here, Subal is sacrificing his company from Lord Shri Krishna for Lord Krishna's satisfaction, so that Lord Krishna be happy. And we all have heard the pastime where Lord Krishna has a headache, right? Where he gets a headache, and when everyone is asking, how can your headache be cured? Because none of the Vaidya, the doctors, the practitioners, medical practitioners, they are able to cure him. So at that time he says that if I can get the dust of the, why is this happening? This pastime has a purpose as well. It just so happened that Rukmini and Satyabhama and all the 16,108 queens, they were surprised. Why is Lord Krishna calling out to the gopis' name when he's sleeping? They are serving with their mind, body and words all the time. They're completely dedicated. Their life and soul is Lord Shri Krishna. Yet at the same time, they see Lord Krishna, calling out the name of the gopis, calling out the name of the cows. So they are, it's very painful for them, because they are saying, what is it, why is he not satisfied with us? That is their mood. So they ask. So one day, Lord Krishna, just to, exemplify the glories of gopis, he basically is saying, I have a headache. And so, at that time, none of the practitioners are able to cure his headache. And finally, everyone asks, my dear Lord, how can your headache be cured? And Devashi Narad is there, Rukmini is there, Satyabhama and all the queens are there, many of the sages are there. And then Lord Krishna says, if I get the dust from the feet of my devotee on my forehead, then it will be cured. And everyone steps back saying that, oh, if this is done, then we will have to go through millions of life in hellish conditions. So that is not good. That is not good. How can we make this happen? He is our, worshipable Lord. How can we put, dust from our feet, on his forehead? That is not done. So at that time, Lord Krishna asked, Narad Muni, Devashi Narad, to go to Vraj and, seek out there if you can find the dust from the lotus feet of his devotees. So Devashi Narad, he goes to Vraj, and on the bank of Yamuna, he sees some gopis. And there, they are saying, oh, Devashi Narad, so wonderful that we get to have your darshan, because he's, he is also a Shaktavesh avatar. He is empowered with the devotional service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So again, he gives bhakti, which is the janani of, again, love of Godhead. So they are asking, and then Devashi Narad saying, reveals that actually he is coming from Dwarka, and Lord Krishna has a headache. Seeing that, all of them, they start, feeling pain, they're crying and they're feeling sad. At that time, Devashi Narad says, actually there is a solution. Now they are eager. What is the solution? They say, if we get the soil from a devotee on his forehead, then his headache will be cured. At that time, the gopis, they started thumping the ground. And they said, bring buckets and fill this, the soil, that we have created, all this, from our feet, thumping on the ground. Take buckets and put it on his forehead. At that time, Devashi Narad is shocked, thinking that these are these are basically milkmaids, the cowherd girls, so they don't really know what will be the result. He says, no, you will have to go through millions of life in hellish condition. At this time, all the gopis, they revealed, we don't care what happens to us. We are only, caring that Lord Krishna is in pain and that his pain will be relieved. He will be, not in that painful state. Realizing this, the highly exalted love, the bhav that the gopis revealed to Devashi Narad, he's amazed, and we learn from the gopis. They set the best example of devotees, and we learn from them, and especially of all the gopis. 108 gopis are prime. Of those 108, 8 are prime. Of them, 2 are prime, and then finally 1, Radharani, she is the topmost devotee of the Lord. Radha's name comes from Aradhita, right? Which means the topmost worshipper of Lord Shri Krishna. So here in this chapter, similar to this, means again, just like Subala Sakha, he gave up his desire to spend the day with Lord Krishna, but rather sought happiness of Lord Shri Krishna. Prithu Maharaj, he accepted the instructions given to him by Lord Brahma in the previous chapter, chapter 19, that yes, let there be just 99 yagyas and I don't have to perform the 100th yagya, because it is causing Indra to become insecure and he is leading to many kind of irreligious practices, right? And what is the purpose of a king, especially Maharaj Prithu as Shakta Vishavta? He is also a Shakta Vishavta. So a living entity, when empowered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, becomes a Shakta Vishavta. And what is the Shakti? What is the empowerment Prithu Maharaj has? He is empowered by the ruling power of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So here, it's very interesting that Prithu Maharaj is letting go his desire to perform 100th yagya to meet the desire of, the Acharyas, and Lord Brahma is one of the Acharyas, one of the Mahajanas. So Mahajano yena gatha pantha. So one has to follow the footsteps of Mahajana. And there are two ways you can follow. We can do Anukaran or Anusharan. Anukaran is imitation, not very good. But Anusharan is following the instructions of the Acharyas. So when Lord Brahma said that let 99 sacrifices be there, no need to perform the 100th sacrifice, and revealed to Prithu Maharaj that Indra is starting many kinds of irreligious activities. He is leading, causing many of the, adharmic practices that are coming in, where people are, coming out with, either naked babas or, coming out like a sannyasi dress, but, holding things or doing practices which are not valid, which are not bona fide. So, whenever Lord appears or any of his incarnation appears, the three purposes are the Paritranay sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam dharma sansthapanarthaye sambhavami yuge yuge. Lord Krishna reveals that Paritranay sadhunam, to protect the devotees. And when Lord Krishna comes, then he is only interested in having loving exchange with the devotees. It is only in Vishnu and Krishna who kills. Lord Krishna never kills, as Acharyas reveal. So, Vinashaya Chadushkitam, to annihilate the miscreants. Dharma Sansthapanarthaya. So again, the third one is to establish the principles of religion. And because when Prithu Maharaj was trying to perform the 100th horse sacrifice, there was irreligious practices being introduced. To stop those irreligious practices, Prithu Maharaj let go of his desire to perform the 100th yagya and accepted the instructions given by Lord Brahma. And at that time, being satisfied with this, Lord Vishnu himself appears on Garud, right? Vaikuntapati, Lord Vishnu has been identified in this verse, the very first verse. And so, when Lord appears, that itself is a sign that everything has been done perfectly. And now somebody would say that Prithu Maharaj was doing everything right. Why is, yet at the same time, he has been asked to stop something as per, the instructions of Brahma. And now Lord Vishnu is appearing. And who's appearing with Lord Vishnu? Who's accompanying him? Well, Indra Dev, the king of the demigods, the one who was creating all this disturbance, he is the one appearing with Lord Vishnu, accompanying Lord Vishnu. And that is surprising, because sometimes people say, oh yeah, this person is in, position. So because you are trying to be in conflict with this person, you have to stop. But here, Lord Vishnu, he reveals the secret. He is saying, by dear Prithu, Indra, the king of heaven, has disturbed your execution of 100th sacrifice, right? The 100 sacrifices that he was performing, only 99 were performed. So Lord is saying that now he has come with me to be forgiven by you. Therefore, excuse me. So again, before Prithu Maharaj could say, Lord, give me permission, he had already accepted Lord Brahma's, statement that let there just be 99th and no need to perform the 100th yagya. And Lord Vishnu is appearing, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is saying to Prithu Maharaj, right, that this Indra has disturbed your execution of 100 sacrifices, and now he has accompanied me to be forgiven by you. And then Lord actually gives him further instruction, therefore excuse him. So why is this important? These three words important because just by saying therefore excuse him, Lord is revealing to Prithu Maharaj what would satisfy him. It's not the 100 yajna, but having this magnanimous attitude to let go of the mistakes of other living entities and accept them, embrace them with a full heart. Again, that is the quality that Lord is revealing. So devotees will learn an important lesson that yes, because of the effect of material nature, right? The three modes of material nature, mode of goodness, mode of passion, mode of ignorance, sattva guna, rajo guna, tamo guna. Person may act unfavorably towards devotees. What to talk about general populace? And in that case, a devotee understanding that this is not being performed by the living entity, but being performed by the three modes of material nature, under the influence, the conditioned person, conditioned living entity is executing these activities, so there is no fault. And understanding the relationship between the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the living entities, and the material nature, they don't, take anything to their heart. They don't react. Rather, they respond in a positive manner as to encourage everyone to take to devotional service. So that is an important lesson. And when we want to develop such qualities, we have to take to devotional service. And devotional service simply starts with the chanting of the holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. But sometimes people have this question that why would Lord directly instruct? Why would Lord not directly punish Indra, the king of heaven? Why would he instruct Prithu Maharaj to forgive? Why would Prithu Maharaj be held back from carrying out 100 yajna? Why would, Indra accompany Lord Vishnu, when asking for forgiveness? Why couldn't he approach? So Lord, he is saying that this is, again, Indra is in a position which has been given to Indra by the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. And sometime when a servant makes a mistake, that mistake could be reflected on the master. And it is the master's duty to make sure that a servant's mistake has been rectified and all parties are fully satisfied. So Lord Vishnu, he brings Indra and solves multiple purposes at the same time. Just by appearance of Lord Vishnu on the Yajna Stali, on the sacrificial arena of Maharaj Prithu, first of all, shows that he is fully satisfied by this attempt of the 100th yajna. He has not completed, Prithu Maharaj has not completed the 100th sacrifice, but Lord is still satisfied by the attempt, by the effort being put in, by not reacting to the disturbing attitude, disturbing behavior of King Indra. And also he wants to bring Indra to realize that he needs to ask for forgiveness. And because Indra could face the wrath of Prithu Maharaj, he brought Indra with him. So Prithu Maharaj would be automatically first satisfied. And so whatever Lord's desire would be, that would be easy to fulfill. And Lord's desire was for Prithu Maharaj to forgive King Indra. And Prithu Maharaj open-heartedly forgives. But then, what is the instruction? It is very important for us to understand. Why would Lord do this? So why would Lord ask Prithu Maharaj to forgive Lord Indra, King Indra? So here, Lord Vishnu, he further reveals, so again, there are three aspects. There is the lordship, bhaktaya, and then there is devotional service, bhakti, and then the devotee, bhakta. So bhaktaya is important. We have to, look at our Ishtadev. We have to look at the Supreme Personality of Godhead and seek anukulena Krishna anushilanam. We have to satisfy the Lord the way he desires, not the way we speculate, right? We have to follow the Shastras. Anushilana means following in the footsteps of Acharyas, Sadhu, Guru and Shastra, to make sure that these three references are very much aligned as we carry out our activity. So Lord Vishnu gives now further response why Prithu Maharaj should forgive King Indra. He's saying, Lord Vishnu is revealing, O King, This is, O King Prithu, one who is advanced in intelligence and eager to perform welfare activities for others is considered best amongst human beings. So again, who is the best amongst all the human beings? Is one who is in full knowledge and then carrying out the activities in that knowledge is also very important. That leads to realization. So Gyan is having knowledge, Vigyan is having realization from that knowledge, from having executed the activities in knowledge. An advanced human being is never malicious to others. So again, Suhridam Sarva Bhutanam. When Lord is best friend of everyone, the devotees automatically must be a best friend of everyone. So they cannot be malicious towards others. And those who are advanced, those with advanced intelligence are always conscious that this material body is different from the soul. Right? So again, material body is under the influence of the three modes of material nature. While the soul becomes conditioned when we think that I am this body. So that is conditioning. And this leads to 4 defects. What are these 4 defects? Human is we have a propensity to make mistakes. We have propensity to cheat. We have propensity to be deluded. And we have imperfect senses. So these are the 4 defects of conditioned life. And so we have to understand that we have to understand who we truly are. Atato Brahma Jigyasa. Again, this is where the first inquiry. Why am I here? Who am I? Why? What is the purpose of this life? That is the first inquiry human being has to take on to realize Jivera Surupoya Krishnera Nityadas Krishnera Tatashti Shakti Bheda Bheda Prakash. That every living entity is actually an eternal servant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Shri Krishna. Krishnera Nityadas. Right? Nitya means eternal. And Krishnera Tatashta Shakti, and a living entity is the Tatashta Shakti, the marginal potency. So there are 3 potencies. Inner potencies represented by Radharani Yogmaya, that's the internal potency. And then the external potency, the material energy, represented by Goddess Durga. And then we living entities, we are there. So, and Lord Krishna reveals in Bhagavad Gita that the living entities are even higher, more powerful, more opulent potency than Mahamaya, because Mahamaya on its own is Jad. It is actually this material energy that is formless. Because of the presence of living entity, it takes on different forms, and 8.4 million types of species they come into being and become conditioned because of the influence of the material energy, the 3 modes of material energy that influences the matter, us, so that people think that I am this body. Now here, Lord is saying that this material body is different from the soul. And as we always very well hear all around in Srimadbhagavatam as well as Bhagavad Gita, that we have prescribed duties. The body has prescribed duties, who have this material body. We have prescribed duties, actually the spiritual body as well. The prescribed duties are there, and then our dharma, constitutional position is there. When our prescribed duties are aligned with the constitutional position to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then we become perfect. Our life becomes perfect and we progress on our spiritual path. So now, Lord is saying that if a personality like you, who is so advanced because of executing the instructions of previous acharyas, revealing that Lord Brahma just gave you the instruction, and you have taken to that instruction. But if you get carried away by the influence of my material energy, which is an inferior energy, then all your advancement may be considered simply a waste of time. And earlier in Srimadbhagavatam, we read this verse. Dharma sunishtita pumsam vishvakshena kathasu yaha na utpadyade yadiratim shamai vahi kevalam. Whatever occupational duty a human being performs, if it does not arise in their heart attraction towards the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then such activity is just waste of time. So we should not be engaged in, frivolous activities, fruitive activities that lead to no spiritual advancement. Rather, we should be engaged in activities based on our prescribed duties as a duty to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Just like on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, Lord Krishna revealed to Arjuna when he wanted to become a sannyasi, a beggar, and go out, leave the battlefield. He said, no, Mamasmaran Yuddhacha, remembering me, fight. So that is the purpose. So devotee acts to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Just like the Pandavas on Kurukshetra were fighting to carry out the mission of the Lord. And what was the mission? Lord Vasudeva Krishna, his appearance was to deliver the burden of the earth. So devotees are constantly carrying out activities in Lord's mission, just like Srila Prabhupada, carrying out the mission as per the instruction of his spiritual master. He came to the West to spread Krishna consciousness. And today we find that all over the world, Krishna consciousness is fully embraced, and there is Sankirtan, Yajna, the sacrifice for this age is going on. And one of the important thing is, it is releasing all the anarthas away. It is destroying all the anarthas, and people are becoming happy, people are becoming peaceful, and they are chanting, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So one who is in full knowledge of this bodily conception of life, with 4 defects, of course, who knows that this body is composed of nescience, desires and activities. So what is this body composed of? Nescience means darkness, ignorance, avidya, right? And then desires. These are fruitive, lusty desires, to enjoy the, for sense gratification. And the activities resulting from illusion. So again, the activities are speculative activities. People tend to rationalize their actions. This is also. So the rational plus lies is rationalize. So they are trying to carry out various activities and rationalizing to themselves that it must be a devotional activity, because if I am performing and I am chanting, then it must be correct. Well, we should not be doing this because it could be arising from illusions. So we should not, and this is called bodily disease. This is called the conditioned disease, and should not be, a person should not be addicted to the body. Now, Lord is further revealing and further arising some of the questions that people may ask. How can a highly learned person who has absolutely no affinity for the bodily conception of life be affected by the bodily conception in regard to house, children, wealth, or similar other bodily productions? So again, people are focused on, 4 basic needs in this world, right? Because of conditioning of the body. What are those? Eat, sleep, mate, defend, right? So again, these are the basic necessities at the lowest level. While one who is advanced understands that these are the maintenance of the body. But if one focuses only on the maintenance of body and carries out dharma, artha, jnana, moksha, right? Religiosity, economic development, and enjoyment, followed by liberation. All these 4 activities, focus them on maintenance of the body, then one's life is doomed, right? So a highly learned person should be detached from the body, understanding what is, material nature, what living entity is, and what the Supreme Personality of Godhead is, and what is their relationship, the 3 entities in this case. So now Lord is revealing that a highly learned person understands this, and he understands that the individual soul is one, right? So there is an identity. We all have a unique identity. The living entity is pure, non-material. So we are transcendental to the 3 modes of material nature and self-effulgent. Qualitatively same with the Lord, but quantitatively different. This is where Krishnera tathashta shakti bheda abheda prakash. So this is achintya bheda abheda tattva philosophy as revealed by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He revealed that how we are simultaneously one and different, same and different from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Lord Vishnu is revealing to Prithu Maharaj that, we living entities are actually, since he is all effulgent, right? We are part and parcel of him. So we living entities are also effulgent. But this material energy is ocean of nescience, right? And being covered by the material energy, by accepting a body, we become conditioned. So our conditioning could be in the 3 modes: mode of goodness, mode of passion, mode of ignorance. In Bhagavad Gita, Lord reveals that a human being is covered by these 3 modes at different level. Just like if someone is in the mode of goodness, Srila Prabhupada, reveals in his purport, the example is when a spiritual spark, actually a spark from the fire, comes and rests on dry grass. Then it has a potency to again, ignite the fire, because the dry grass is perfect environment to get that fire. So in the mode of goodness, one is situated in a way that he can actually progress very well in spiritual advancement, because the fire, that energy can show itself. While if someone is in a mode of passion, so that is like falling on a ground, just flat ground, the spark may have some potency, but over a period of time it may die out. And then the third example is a mode of ignorance, that is like having this spark fall on water or in wet ground. Then it's quickly extinguished and its characteristics are not easily visible. So depending on the three modes of material nature, one may have different level of influences. And so Lord is revealing the characteristics of a living entity, and that is different, he's already revealed, than the material energy. And he's also revealing that the Supreme Personality of Godhead has reservoir of all good qualities. And so a devotee who is an intelligent person carrying out activities to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead also gets these qualities, from the Lord. And so that's why devotees are also revealed as having demigod-like qualities. And Lord is all-pervading. And similarly, Srila Prabhupada used to reveal that if given in the Shastras that there is no space in this universe without the living entities, how could this be the case, right? Because people would say there is no living entity on Mars, there is no living entity on Moon, and Srila Prabhupada would directly deny this findings, because we have imperfect senses, we cannot see them. Just like we cannot see the Supreme Personality of Godhead unless Lord is merciful and reveals himself to us. And without material covering, Lord can witness all the activities, and an intelligent person should be able to witness all the activities as well. So although within the material nature, one who is thus situated with full knowledge of Paramatma and Atma is never affected by the modes of material nature, for he is always situated in transcendental loving service. So a devotee in full knowledge is not affected, because this people are, the Jnanis, they are looking at merging into Brahman. So that is partial realization of the absolute truth. And then the yogis, the Ashtanga yogis, they are looking into realizing and meditating on the super soul in the heart, Paramatma in the heart, so that they can attain various kind of siddhis and travel easily to other planets. These are the two levels which have been considered lower. The true realization is of Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the cause of the super soul as well as the Brahman effulgence. Vadanti tattva vidas tattvam yajnanam avyayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagwaniti shabdate. So the learned transcendentalists realize the absolute truth in three forms: Brahman effulgence, Paramatma and Bhagwan. And it is Bhagwan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Shri Krishna, who is the cause of Paramatma and Brahman. So Lord, he is revealing, Lord Vishnu is continuing to reveal to Prithu Maharaj here in a compassionate way. He is revealing that, carry out your occupational duties as part of my loving service without, having fruitive intentions. And that would satisfy. So it is very important. The formula has been given. Even though the formula is known, it is still Rajvidya Rajguhyam, right? In Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says, Rajvidya Rajguhyam pavitram idam uttamam pratyakshvavagamam dharmam susukham kartum avyayam. So, this devotional service is referred to as Rajvidya, is the king of all knowledge. Rajguhyam, it is the greatest secret. Now, how could something so well known be greatest secret? Because even though people know it, they find it very hard to follow it. That is the reason it is Rajguhyam. Pavitram, it is all pure, it's purifying. And Uttamam, it is the best of all. Pratyakshvavagamam dharmyam. So, and one actually sees the transformation in oneself when they engage in devotional service. So you can actually perceive the advancement, the peace, the happiness, the transcendental bliss that comes over you, the protection of umbrella of the Lordship's lotus feet. It comes over you and blesses you every day, every part of your life. Now people don't realize this, and they, being conditioned, give in to the various demands of this body, and that causes them to seek material gain, engage in fruitive activities for self gratification. So even though people may be saying, yes, we are performing dharma, earth, kama, moksha, their focus is on calm, so they perform various kind of ritualistic activities to enjoy for calm, for sense gratification. They do economic development for calm, for sense gratification, and they have no interest in liberation, and they hope that because they perform so many ritualistic activities, finally they will have good destination, not knowing that actually they are causing themselves to stay in this ocean of nascence, in this material world, while our purpose is to get out from this material world. And for that, the formula is simple. All we have to do is raise our hands and chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So now Lord is revealing that when the heart is cleansed of all material contamination, the devotee's mind becomes broader and transparent, and he can see things equally. At that stage of life, there is peace, and one is situated equally with me as Satchit Ananda Vigraha. Now here, Lord is not saying that after this birth, one will be established as Satchidananda, because as a Devashi Narad, he revealed when he was a maidservant's son and his mother had died at that time, he was constantly remembering the Lord, engaging in devotional service. He reveals that his limbs had already become spiritualized. So again, with mind, body and words, when we are on transcendental platform, that everything that is engaged in transcendental platform attains that platform. So again, one is situated with me, Lord is saying. Sat is eternal feature, Chit is full of knowledge, Anand, transcendental bliss, Vigraha, a form. So Lord is not formless, like people sometimes think. He has an eternal body, he is full of knowledge, and he is constantly in transcendental bliss. That's why he's also called out as Atmaram. And all the living entities who are engaging in this, devotional service, they attain peace, they become blissful, and thus we can spiritualize based on this instruction our very life, even though we may be situated in this material world, but when carrying out our activities in alignment with our constitutional position, we become transcendental to the three modes of material nature. And Srila Prabhupada was sometimes asked, what are the different scenarios? Why are there so much misery in this world? Srila Prabhupada would reveal that actually different places in this world are in different modes. Just like we see the brothels and clubs, those and the meat houses and the slaughterhouses. These are all places in the mode of ignorance. Then people who are going to work the city, people living in the city and working heavily, they are in the mode of passion, influence. So those places are in the mode of passion. Then we see the forest, the suburbs. These places are in the mode of goodness. Rishis would establish their ashrams in the suburbs, in the forest, because it was in the mode of goodness. However, temple is in a spiritual mode. It is transcendental to the three modes of material nature, because Lord himself is present there, and we should take opportunity to even spiritualize our home by inviting the deities of the Lord, Shishi Radha Krishna, Shishi Gauratai, Shishi, Krishna Balaram and so forth, so that we can spiritualize our home. So even though it may be situated in any of the other three modes, because we will be engaged in devotion service, we can become transcendental. And the process is very simple. All we have to do is take to the chanting of the holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And follow the four regulative principles, because those four regulative principles save us from sinful life. No meat eating, including no fish, eggs, onion, garlic. No intoxication, including no tea, coffee, and other caffeine products. no illicit sex. So stay within the marriage if you are married. If you are following brahmacharya or the ashrams, follow the rules of those ashrams, and no gambling. So no gambling means because it is a habit that can destroy a person and is sinful by nature. And all these four activities are actually, wherever these activities are going on, that's where Kali also resides. And what is the effect of Kali? Now sometimes people ask, what is the effect of Kali if Kali is residing in these four places? Well, the effect on the human being in this Kali age have been revealed in Srimadbhagavatam 12th Canto by Shukdev Goswami to Maharaj Parikshit. He is revealing Prayana Alpayusha Sabhya. So men in this Kali age have Alpayu, short-lived. Kalavasmin Yugejana. So the people in this age are Kalav, means they are Kalah. They are quarrelsome by nature. Manda, they are lazy. Sumanda Matyo, they are less intelligent. Mand Bhagya, they have, they are unlucky. And Upraduta, and they are constantly disturbed, they are constantly in anxiety. So how can, by taking to devotional service, we can become free of anxiety? Because we become transcended to three modes of material nature. So when we transcend, we actually come to the Brahman stage. And at that Brahman stage, Lord Krishna reveals in Bhagavad Gita, Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma Na Shochate Na Kankshati Sama Sarveshu Bhuteshu Mad Bhakti Labhate Param. Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma. So at that Brahman stage, Brahma Bhuta, living entity who is on the Brahman platform, he is Prasannatma. He is constantly rejoicing. Na Shochati. He does not lament about the past. Na Akankshati. He is not aspiring for the future. So he is focusing on the present moment, carrying out all activities with mind, body and words to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Shri Krishna. Samaha Sarveshu Bhutashu. And he is equally disposed towards all living entities. He is seeing them as, that they are very dear to Lord Shri Krishna. So a devotee makes, every effort to avoid any kind of offenses, even towards the general populace. What to talk about Vaishnava Aprad, which is like a mad elephant disease, and Nama Aprad, which is like, offenses to the chanting of the holy name. Those are grievous offenses. Even to general populace, a devotee avoids offenses and tries to be respectful, based on their individual platform. And Mad Bhakti Labhate Param. Or what are the activities of such an activity? That he is constantly engaged in devotional service. He is constantly engaged in remembering the name form activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is constantly chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, such a person is like a fixed soul who is eligible to be liberated from material bondage. So, Lord is revealing that these material elements, the working senses, the mind, they are simply supervised by the fixed soul, who is fixed in devotional service. Now, Lord Vishnu further reveals to Prithu Maharaj that this material nature is asat, right? So it constantly changes. While we living entities and the Supreme Personality of Godhead, we are sat, we are eternal by nature. Yes, we are unchangeable. We cannot be cut, we cannot be withered, we cannot be wet, we cannot be burned. All these amazing qualities belong to the Atma as well as Paramatma. Yeah, and so a spirit soul is completely different from this gross, subtle material nature. Maya jad hai. On its own, it doesn't know how to move on its own. It is only by the influence, presence of a living entity can Maya do anything. Yet at the same time, sometimes people say, I cannot give up Maya, right? That's like a man holding on to a tree and asking the tree to leave it. Saying, tree, leave me, leave me. Who's holding to the tree? The person is holding to the tree. All he has to do is let go. And at that time, it will become suitable. And Lord within the heart will reveal, Tesha evanu kampatam aham jnana jantama nashami atma bhavastu jnana deepena bhasvata. Lord Krishna reveals in Bhagavad Gita that anukampa of the Lordship, His compassion, His mercy, by His mercy, and Lord is Tesham evanukampatam aham ajnana jam tamaha nashyami atma bhavastu. So he is atma bhavastu. He is sitting in our heart as Paramatma, as Super Soul. And with the light of knowledge, he destroys all the darkness that's caused by this nascence. And what nascence are we talking about? The material elements and their influence. So all these gross and subtle material elements, the darkness is completely eradicated by the knowledge, and that knowledge is revealed to us through the heart, right? By Lord himself revealing. So Lord is present in us as Chaitya Guru. Yet he has identified the process that we have to accept as spiritual master. A bona fide spiritual master in the disciplic succession. So again, there are 4 paramparas, right? Disciplic succession refers to the 4 paramparas: Rudra Sampradaya, Brahma Sampradaya, Kumar Sampradaya, and Shi Sampradaya. So there are 4 sampradayas, the bona fide, lineages or disciplic succession parampara systems that are there. Rudra Sampradaya is coming from Lord Shiva. Brahma Sampradaya is coming from Lord Brahma. Kumar Sampradaya is coming for Chatur Kumara, Sanak, Sanatan, Sanandana, and Sanat Kumar. And then the 4th Sampradaya is coming from Goddess of Fortune, Lakshmi Devi. Wait a minute. There is a lot of discussion going on nowadays. How can women be, a guru? Well, here, Goddess of Fortune, he is appearing as a woman, right? As a woman, she is the guru of a whole sampradaya. So again, we have to rise above these factors. Yes, sometimes people say, wait a minute, she is the internal potency of the Lord, expansion of Radharani. So we are not talking of the same energy. Then we can take example of Lord Brahma, who is actually a living entity, a Jiva Tattva. We can take examples of the Chatur Kumaras, who are all examples of living entities as Shaktavi Shaktas, empowered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So again, people have the tendency to rationalize things, but if we follow the Shastras, follow the instructions of Sadhguru in Shastra, then we see that we have to rise above this bodily concept of life and be on the spiritual platform and focus on engaging in devotional service. Now Lord, seeing that Prithu Maharaj is agreeable, now he is further giving instructions, to Prithu Maharaj that, staying stable, equipoised, not being affected by the heat and cold, the relativity of this world is very important. And they are all below you. They are all the effects of material energy. And controlling our mind and senses is the prime objective, so that we can fully engage in devotional service, carrying out our prescribed duties, our duties in whatever stage we are. And Prithu Maharaj is the king of the world. So he's saying, yes, your duty is to make sure that you're taking care of all your citizens and giving them proper protection. So this is all being done by my arrangement. However, you are that empowered living entity to carry out your duty as the king. And this is the occupational duty. So by carrying out the occupational duty, what happens is a king has to take, taxes. He has to take taxes from the citizens. And that tax is generally 1/6 of the income that the citizens make. And Lord is revealing that when all the citizens are giving an opportunity and they are all pious, following their prescribed duties for the pleasure of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that not just when the king gets that 1/6 share, he also gets the result of the pious activities of the citizens. So they actually also benefit, from that perspective, because it is the responsibility of a king to make sure that the whole kingdom is spiritually advancing. When a king is very pious and encourages spiritual advancement, such an executive head of the state, who focuses on collecting taxes, but because of the pious activities, they get the 1/6 share of the pious activities. But those administrators or the kings who do not focus on spiritual advancement of the citizens and are just levying taxes on their citizens and getting that tax, and those citizens are performing impious activities, sinful activities. What are sinful activities? Those activities which are not prescribed by the Shastras, so they are not prescribed duties and are being sinfully performed. So that is not prescribed, that is not pious, is impious, that is sinful. So because they are taking 1/6 share, they get the 1/6 of the sinful reactions of the citizens as well. So on the shoulder of every leader, it is a great responsibility. When we talk about this, then people have this thing like, they have this attitude to point to the prime minister, president, chief minister, other people. It's very interesting that this fiery finger always points out, not realizing that these three fingers are pointing back. Anyone who's breathing is a leader. So every father and mother, means again, every parent has this responsibility on their shoulder, that they make sure that the children are spiritually advanced, they are engaged in devotional service. Every brother, sister, who has younger brother or, siblings, they have this responsibility to, engage each other in devotional service. Because it is susakam kartum avyayam. It can be performed when devotional service is performed. It is, susukam, with joyfully performed. And avyayam means it doesn't have to be stopped. You can continue to perform it constantly, and it's navinanam. It's constantly, giving more and more pleasure. Just like during the month of Kartik, we hear about Damodar Leela. And every time we hear, it is as fresh, as enlivening as any other time. So again, and this is where we learn how Lord can be easily conquered with love. Then competition. So again, this is where the competition was going on between who? Prithu Maharaj and Indra. And now Lord is telling to Prithu Maharaj that you as a king provide protection, and you want to improve the religious activities, the spiritual advancement of your citizens. So he is revealing, but he is also revealing to us that we all are responsible when we are engaged as someone's friend, when we are engaged at our work, when we are engaged. It is not that, Arjun has to start chanting on the battlefield. He is constantly chanting internally while carrying out his activities externally. Acharyas give the example of gopis. Many of the gopis, they were married and they had babies and so forth. They would carry out their household duties perfectly so that nobody would think that they are constantly thinking of Lord Shri Krishna, waiting to see Lord Shri Krishna, waiting to, go for rasa dance and so forth. So that is the mode, the parakya ras, right? So yet at the same time, we have to carry out our prescribed duties in this world while constantly meditating on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So prescribed duties lead to pious activities. But if done for sense gratification, they become fruitive activities, which has their own reactions. And that is also pushing us into naissance. But when we perform our activities as a duty to please Lord Shri Krishna, as part of our alignment on our Swadharma, constitutional position, Nitya Das, Krishnera Nitya Das, eternal servant of Lord Shri Krishna, for his pleasure when we carry out our duties, not thinking of the relativity, hot or cold, pleasure and distress, happiness or distress, pleasure or pain, all this conditioning of this material world. When we just perform them for the pleasure of the Lordship, then of course these become transcendental, and all these activities help us elevate us. And the process is very simple. Yagyas, the sacrifices are important. And what's the current yagya? Yagya for this Kali age? Sankirtan yagya. So we should all engage in Sankirtan yagya. And Lord will give us direction from our heart. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So we are all responsible for the actions that we perform. And how do we perform actions? 3 ways: mind, body and words. So all 3 ways that we perform actions, we are responsible. And a leader who does not engage in spiritual advancement, rather is seeking sense gratification or levying taxes on others, extracting money from others, that particular leader also has to take part in the reaction, the sinful reactions of the parties that they are extracting this money from, this Lakshmi from, the wealth from. So Lord Vishnu, he continues to reveal that to Prithu Maharaj to continue to carry out his prescribed duties as the king, right? Following Sadhu, Guru and Shastra, the instructions of the learned Brahmanas, the authorities, and following as received in the disciplic succession. Now Prithu Maharaj, it has not been revealed yet. He has not yet met with Sanat Kumara, the 4 Kumaras. He has not worshipped them yet. But he is actually coming in that disciplic succession. Sometimes people have this tendency of assuming that which particular disciplic succession is Prithu Maharaj coming. As I said, Srimad Bhagavatam, it must be in Brahma Sampradaya. No, it is in Kumar Sampradaya that, King Prithu appears. And he is being also revealed that Lord is saying that very soon you will be meeting these personalities, the four Kumaras, and you will be receiving their instructions, and you can always be liberated, and happy following those instructions. Now, Lord is appreciating. This is an interesting piece. Just like Lord never sees negative qualities, bad qualities in others, a devotee does not see bad qualities in others, rather magnifies all the good qualities in others. So Lord is saying that I'm captivated, right? Very captivated. So no, I'm not just observed, but I am actually amazed. You have my full attention. I'm mesmerized by these elevated qualities and your excellent behavior. So he's glorifying Prithu Maharaj. Normally people have the tendency of glorifying person who is above them. But here Lord himself is glorifying his devotees. And so he's saying that that's why I am favorably inclined towards you. So when a devotee is in the mood of giving to please the Lordship, ready to give whatever Lord desires, then Lord also becomes, sold by the love of his devotee. So he's conquered by the love of his devotees. So at that time, Lord says that you can ask me any benediction that you like. Now it's very interesting that he has not yet completed, he has not performed the 100th yajna, but Lord has appeared on that sacrificial arena where he was performing the 100th yajna. That yajna, the sacrifice, was interrupted by King Indra. Lord Brahma appeared and said no need to perform. Lord Vishnu appeared and said no need to perform, fully satisfied. And he's saying you can ask me any benediction you like, right? And he's also revealing that he's not just giving this benediction for no reason. He's saying that only when somebody has elevated qualities and a transcendental behavior, only such a person can, achieve Lord's favor. Not just performance of sacrifice, austerities, or mystic yoga. It is not possible. So again, this is again being revealed here, that the yogis, the ashtanga yogis, the jnanis, the karmis, they can never satisfy the Lord because they are focusing after something, right? The karmis are focusing on fruitive activities so that they can seek sense gratification. Yogis are performing ashtanga yoga system, following ashtanga yoga system, so that they can attain various siddhis. Jnana yogis are engaged in Brahman realization so that they can merge into Brahman, even become God. So they are great offenders that way. So they can never achieve the favor of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But a devotee, not having any desire to enjoy, but rather seeking to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead, can very easily satisfy the Lord. So that has been very nicely revealed. At that time, Lord Vishnu, again, is after having revealed this, Maitreya is now further conveying to Mahatma Vidu that in this way, Maharaj Prithu, the conqueror of the entire world, right? He was the emperor of the world. He accepted the instruction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead on his head. So he took to the instruction on his heart and he agreed. So at that time, Indradev, he was standing right next to Lord Vishnu, and being ashamed of his, improper behavior, he fell down before Maharaj Prithu. And Prithu Maharaj immediately picked him up and embraced him, giving up all envy against him. So sometimes when someone is disturbing you, you become, disturbed by this attitude. So there is an envy, it creeps into your heart. So here it is revealed that, Maharaj Prithu, he understood that Indra, why he was acting the way he was acting. So he gave all disturbing thoughts towards him, towards Indra, who had been trying to steal the horse that was meant for the sacrifice. And now Maharaj Prithu, he still has to ask for benediction, but then before that he is worshipping the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who was so merciful to him. So again, his ecstasy is increasing in devotional service by the mercy of the Lord. Lord is so merciful that he himself came to the sacrificial arena, even though the sacrifice was not being performed. This is why, Archanam, right, the worship, by performing the deity worship, by performing the worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Prithu Prithu Maharaj, just by performing that one devotional service, he attains perfection and he is constantly glorified for having, satisfied the Lord. As Lord desired, Anukulina Krishna Anushilanam, following the instructions of the Brahmana, Sadhu, Guru and Shastra. And so when Lord was about to leave, yet he was so inclined towards, Prithu Maharaj, he stayed for a little longer. Many times when demigods they perform sacrifices, Lord doesn't even appear, but a Shuddha Bhakt, a pure devotee of the Lord, can win over the Lord, right? And here Prithu Maharaj, he has captivated by his magnanimous attitude, by his behavior, Lords, again. So there are two things very much important for us. We have to do our endeavor and we have to seek Lord's mercy. So Lord was completely captivated looking at the devotional service, the worshipping attitude and the sacrificing attitude of Prithu Maharaj. Here Prithu Maharaj was not so much focused on, he was not sacrificing and horse anymore. He was sacrificing his desire to carry out this 100th sacrifice, and that is only to follow the instructions of Lord Brahma to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So he was showing all the ecstatic symptoms, when he was worshipping Lord Vishnu. His eyes were filled with tears, his voice was faltering, it was getting choked up, the hair was standing on its end. So these 8 types of symptoms he was showing that. And now it is amazing truth is revealed. At that time, Lord Vishnu, he stood his foot touching onto the ground while resting his upper part of the hand on the shoulder of Garud. Now why would Lord do this? It is said, here Maitreya Muni is revealing that Maharaj Prithu, he was looking at the Lord, he was never satisfied, but Lord was touching the ground and he was holding on to the shoulder of Garud, because he normally doesn't. People, again, demigods, even on the heavenly planets, they don't walk on earth, they don't have to touch the earth. But Lord, he wanted to bless the sacrificial arena, so that's why he was touching the ground. But because he's not used to walking on the ground, because he was touching the ground, so that he does not fall down, he was holding on to the shoulder of Garud. So again, Lord wanted to bless Prithu Maharaj, the whole sacrificial arena and all the personalities gathered there. That has been revealed. And so Prithu Maharaj, he is saying that, he is revealing that he does not want any benediction like merging into Brahman effulgence, or because there is no nectarian beverage of your lotus feet, because Brahma effulgence is actually a state where you cannot perform any activity. It is it is the radiance coming from the feet of the Lordship. So that is not true liberation, as Gyan Yogis think. Rather, the true liberation is to engage in devotional service. So yes, the means is the end, which starts with Shravanam, right? So hearing of the holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So he wants to hear from great personalities. Prithu Maharaj is revealing the benediction he wants is that he wants to hear the glorification of the Lord's name, form, activities, pastimes. And Lord's lotus feet, they're just like the saffron particles, right? And he wants to hear the transcendental vibrations from the mouth of great devotees who carry the aroma of the saffron dust of Lord's lotus feet. And the forgetful and living entities, this start to remember their eternal relationship. Jivera Surupaya Krishna and Nityadas. Our constitutional position becomes visible to us when we hear from the acharyas, from the sadhus, from the saintly persons. And so in this way, a sadhaka, a devotee, a practitioner can gradually come to the right conclusion about the purpose of life, the value of life, the reason why we in this, why do we have this human form of life. And it's only in the human form of life that one can attain perfection. And that perfection is attaining the love of Godhead. So Prithu Maharaj, he wants to just hear Lord's glories from the, devotees, the pure devotees, from the mouth of pure devotees. And he is continuing to worship the Lord, continuing to praise the Lord, singing praises after praises. And he is also revealing that if, in the association of pure devotee, even if once somebody hears your activities, he does not, unless he is, but an animal, because an animal, even though may hear, may not get the meaning out of it, right? A person who has proper knowledge, when he hears the glories, he can understand the glories, he can, he cannot give the association of devotees. He is intelligent enough not to be careless, to leave such a wonderful association. And the perfection of chanting and hearing about the glories of the Supreme Personality of Lordship would be accepted even by the Goddess of Fortune, who desires to hear of your unlimited activities and translated glories. Now, Prithu Maharaj, when he is saying that he wants to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead by serving his lotus feet, now he is revealing that actually, when he takes to this service, he may have a conflict with Goddess of Fortune. Now, imagine Prithu Maharaj saying that I was doing the 100th yajna, which is like a distant activity. Then Indra had a conflict with me. What if I'm serving your lotus feet? I'm engaging in serving your lotus feet, and Goddess of Fortune, even though she is your wife, right? Means Goddess of Fortune is Lord's internal potency, and even though she, stays, she vatsa, right? So she resides on Lord's heart, on his chest, yet at the same time, she takes pleasure in, serving Lord's lotus feet. So he is saying that I am actually in Dasya Bhav, right? Yet at the same time, if I do the same activity that Goddess of Fortune likes to do, we may be in conflict. And yet at the same time, now he is saying, but I will be under your protection. So he is revealing the Shanagati principle that, Lord is our guardian. He will provide us all protection. So Anukulena Krishna Anushilanam. So again, we have to perform our activities, add Lord's desires. And then comes the aspect of what are the limbs of Sharanagati? There are 6 limbs of Sharanagati. Hare Krishna. So he is showing the signs of surrender to the lotus feet of Supreme Personality of Godhead. And as is revealed by the Acharyas, there are 6 limbs of Sharanagati. Anukulyasya sankalpa pratikulyasya varjanam rakshishyati te vishwaso gopititve varnam tatha atmanikshepa kalpane shadvidha sharanagati. So what are the 6 limbs of Sharanagati? Anukulyasya sankalpa, accepting everything that is favorable for one's devotional service. Pratikulyasya varjanam, rejecting everything that is unfavorable for one's devotional service. And rakshishyati te vishwaso, that Lord will provide us all protection. So this is the principle that Prithu Maharaj is saying, that I have fully surrendered myself at your lotus feet. So you will provide me all protection. So that way, Goddess of Fortune, she will not be in conflict and she will let me serve your lotus feet. Because you will provide me protection, so any wrath coming from her direction will be warded off by you. You will provide me. And Gopatitve Vardam Tatha, that you are my guardian, you are my maintainer. So the Lord is maintaining every living entity all around the world. So again, over the universe. So again, when one has taken shelter at the lotus feet of the Lordship, so one has accepted the guardianship of the Lordship, and Lord will easily maintain and not let any harm come to such a devotee. Atma Nikshep, and surrendering everything for the pleasure of the Lordship. All his desires for the pleasure of the Lordships are there. And then Karpanya is humility, in a humble. So after full self-surrender comes humility, which is the most important. Even though it appears last, but it's not the least. It is the most important principle. Even as the Emperor of the world, Prithu Maharaj is showing his humility by identifying that yes, he doesn't want to be in conflict, yet at the same time saying that it will give pleasure to the Lordship. Even the Goddess of Fortune would understand that there is no any misunderstanding, will be warded off, will be taken care by the Lord himself, who is very much inclined towards the poor and even magnifies insignificant service at his lotus feet. And at the same time, He's saying that if she becomes upset with you, you have nothing to worry about because there is no harm for you. It is revealed in the purport by Srila Prabhupada that when Lord Brahma is born from the navel of Garbhodaksha Vishnu, Garbhodaksha Vishnu does not take any help from goddess of fortune in giving birth to Lord Brahma. His Atmaram is fully self-sufficient. So from his navel sprouts this lotus on which Lord Brahma is born. So you can do without her as well. And yes, there was a period where goddess of fortune was separated from the Lord Shiva, and when she appeared from the churning of the ocean, at that time she was married to Lord Vishnu. So here we see that Lord Vishnu is fully sufficient. So Prithu Maharaj is revealing this to Lord Vishnu and saying that under your protection I will be safe and you will be safe. So there is no reason to worry about goddess of fortune. Yet at the same time, showing that he is fully surrendered at the lotus feet of Lordship. Yet he is also saying that it's not just me. Great liberated personalities, pure devotees, they take shelter of your lotus feet, and they're constantly thinking of your lotus feet. So whenever we are constantly thinking of the Lord's lotus feet, we are on the transcendental platform. So the focus is we should constantly be asking for service, engaging in devotional service, so that we can constantly remember the name, form, activities and pastimes of the Supreme Lord. And all this is simply done through a prayerful mood when we chant the holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So Prithu Maharaj then further reveals that people are attracted by the flowery language of Vedas and they engage in all kind of fruitive activities, not realizing that these fruitive activities have their own reaction which keep them bound in this material world. Rather, the purpose is that one has to do selfless service, carry out their prescribed duties, devotional service. All prescribed duties should be done for the pleasure of the Lordship. But in ignorance, such people who are conditioned, desirous of this sense gratification, material happiness in the form of society, friendship and love. Now these three words Srila Prabhupada got from a song. So here, people are always looking to make themselves prominent and known in the society. They want to have good friend circle and they are always seeking to have loving exchanges with their intimate, wife, children and so forth, parents, relatives. So society, friendship and love, these are the three circles of person whose condition is focused on. While they're keeping themselves, a conditioned person is keeping themselves in the center, seeking sense gratification through these three medias. However, when we place Lord in the center, who is Rishikesh, who is the master of the senses, and do all our activities to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead as He desires, then all our senses are automatically satisfied. So he is saying that please do not ask me to take such material benefits from you, because a father who is well-wisher of a son, does not wait for his son's demand. Rather, he performs activities for the benefit of the son. So now Prithu Maharaj is saying, bestow on me whatever benediction you feel suitable, best for me. So this is another mode of surrender. He is not asking for anything because he doesn't desire anything for himself. And taking to that surrender principle, following the surrender principle, he is saying, Lord, I just need your mercy. Without mercy, nothing can be achieved spiritually. So again, the second element is also very important. First is our endeavor. So here Maharaj Prithu has already shown his perfection through the worship of the Lordship. And then the second is Lord's mercy. He is invoking Lord's mercy. Now there is a common saying, bin mange to jannat bhi nasib nahi hoti hai. So we have to ask for it. And in a prayerful mode, when we pray to the Lordship, asking for, what is beneficial for us, we can get that mercy, the prasad. And the prasad of the Lord, the mercy of the Lord flow through His devotees. And that's why here we hear from the example of Maharaj Prithu that's being revealed by Maitreya Muni to Mahatma Vidur, is like Maharaj Prithu is revealing to us the mood of a pure devotee, how he's addressing the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his prayers. And now, after hearing this, the Lord is moved, and he blesses Maharaj Prithu that may you always be blessed by engaging in my devotional service. So this is the benediction, and we can ask for the same benediction just by raising our hands and chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, for the pleasure of the Lordship. So that should be the mood. And so here in this example, just like we talked about Subala Sakha, he gave up the association of Krishna so that Lord Krishna can be with Radharani. So for the pleasure of the Lordship, he carried out the activities. Similarly, Prithu Maharaj, he gave up the thought, the desire to perform 100 yajna, following the instructions of Lord Brahma, and for the satisfaction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he also forgave Indra and rather embraced Indra, giving up all envy or disturbing thoughts towards Indra. So Lord is, feeling very happy by this attitude. Lord Vishnu is saying that you are the protector of citizens and please carry out my orders and not be misled by anything. Now, this is also very important that we should always be looking at those three references, Sadhu, Guru and Shastra, making sure that they are aligned, right? Sometimes people have the tendency to rationalize even around these because of the four defects of this conditioned life. And so Lord is saying that there will be all good fortune all over the world. So when a leader carries out, their activities and protects the people in their guardianship, making sure that everyone, all living entities in the guardianship are able to spiritually advance, then everything becomes, auspicious in this world. So Maitreya Muni is continuing to further reveal this pastime of Prithu Maharaj being blessed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who appreciated the meaningful prayers of Prithu Maharaj and being properly worshipped. The Lord blessed him and decided to depart. Now, just Lord Vishnu has departed. Well, on the sacrificial arena, we still have many demigods, residents from heavenly planets, as well as the great sages, Brahmanas, and others. Now, Prithu Maharaj, not just that he has been blessed, he would just let go sometimes. People have the tendency. He worshipped all the demigods. Prithu Maharaj, he worshipped the sages, the inhabitants of Pitraloka, the inhabitants of Gandharva Loka. He continued to worship all the personalities present, the Siddha Loka residents, Charana Loka residents, Apsara Loka, Kindra Loka, and even the earthly planets. The middle section is the earthly planets. So he also worshipped many living entities who presented themselves in the sacrificial arena. So a host makes sure that all the guests who have come to the sacrificial arena, they are properly respected, they are properly worshipped as they are departing. And this is a tendency. So when devotees hold Namhata, they make sure that as people are leaving from their home, they express the gratitude, make sure that they follow them all the way to the doorstep and wishing them well. So again, in this way, Prithu Maharaj was wishing well to all the personalities and giving huge amount of charities to the Brahmanas, to the sages, so that they can continue to bestow their mercy. The mercy of the Lordship flows through his devotees. So they all returned to their individual abode. And at that time, Prithu Maharaj then offered his respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the Supreme Lord of all demigods. Although not an object of material vision, the Lord revealed himself to the sight of Maharaj Prithu. After offering obeisances to the Lord, the king returned to his home. So this is the proper way of completing. And of course, there is, snan and other activities that are carried on under the instructions of the Brahmanas. He completed all those ritualistic activities as well for the pleasure of the Lordship. Hare Krishna. So this is where the chapter ends. And the main lesson that we hear is that yes, we should engage in devotional service and we should be constantly praying. So right. So the devotional service Prithu Maharaj was engaged was worshipping Archana. Right? He attains perfection just by following Archana Vidhi. Yet at the same time, he is constantly praying. So similarly, for this current age, That is the prayer. The Sankirtan Yajna is full of prayers, chanting of the holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Sometimes people even ask, why do we have to chant the holy name? Well, we heard about the effect of Kali age. So what about it? What is the importance of chanting the holy name? So again, Hare Nam, Hare Nam, Hare Nam eva kevalam, kala nashteva gatiranyatha. So in Brihad Naradiya Purana, it is revealed that chanting of the holy name, and it's been repeated thrice for stress, is the only way to ward off the effect of this Kali age. Again repeated thrice. Nashteva gatiranyatha. There is no other way. So just by the chanting of the holy name, we can come out of this conditioned state, become transcendental through the three modes of material nature, and engage in devotional service when we receive the mercy of the Lord. So yes, devotional service is not a right, it's a privilege, and we should take advantage of this privilege that we get, because it is for our own purification, for our own advancement, for our own motive to attain perfection in this human life. And what is that perfection? To attain love of Godhead, to attain shelter at His lotus feet in a full surrendered mood. So that is an important piece. So prayers go hand in hand along with devotional service. And prayers, Hare Krishna Mahamantra, is also devotional service. So that is also very important, and it is the yajna for this age. So this is where this chapter ends, and we'll continue next chapter in the next class. Hare Krishna. Gantra Srimadbhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Bhagavad Pad ki jai. Anant Koti Vaishnava Vind ki jai. Nitai Go Premanande. Hari Hari Bol. Om Tat Sat. Hare Krishna.